the small hours of the morning on Palm Sunday in Gaza City, when word came to the staff and officials of the Al-Ali hospital to evacuate everyone inside. 20 minutes later, a rain of Israeli missiles descended on the hospital as staff and volunteers rushed to get their patients to safety. There are videos of folks wheeling gurneys away from the wrecked site while the explosions of those missiles illuminate the night sky behind them. Those strikes destroyed the hospital's laboratory, rendered its emergency department and intensive care units inoperable, and the people of Gaza City awoke to see their last possibility of medical care, the last remaining hospital in the whole north of Gaza, a smoldering shell. The Al-Ali hospital was the only remaining hospital there in the city, and is a mission of the Anglican Diocese of Jerusalem. Along with the hospital, the strikes also hit St. Philip's Church, a place that just a few hours later was to hold a Palm Sunday procession through the streets of the city and into its doors. The Anglican Church was connected to the hospital and it also served as an annex for the injured and wounded during previous bombings of the facility. What do we do with the reports of devastation and destruction in places thousands of miles away? How much can we take in of a war that has been going on for more than a year and a half? How much can we feel for people we've never met, whose lives look so different than ours, and who have been portrayed in the media as colluders with Hamas, potential terrorism suspects themselves? I want to dwell for a few minutes on these questions, because they are at their heart questions of empathy. How much empathy should we have for our fellow human beings? How much should we let ourselves feel with them and imagine ourselves in their places? How much should we let that empathy move us to action, to feeling, to despair, to whatever comes with it? Empathy is, at its core, our capacity to enter into the experience of another and to share their feelings with them, to hold them with them, to sit alongside them in whatever suffering, whatever pain, whatever joy, whatever sorrow they may be experiencing. It may be surprising for you to hear that across contemporary Christianity, empathy is a hotly debated topic. There's a recent attempt on the part of some Christian theologians to paint empathy as a sin. Empathy, as their case goes, is dangerous because it can cause us to lose ourselves and our perspective in the experience and perspective of another. For these folks, empathy brings with it a loss of control and objectivity. It risks feeling so deeply that we fail to see the suffering of others as a product of their choices or something that needs correction instead of feeling with them. For these writers, to appreciate and acknowledge the pain of a transgender child being denied gender-affirming care would be unthinkable. To feel the sense of loss, devastation, and hopelessness of the people fleeing the Al-Ali hospital would be a failure to identify that some of those people may have voted for and at some point supported Hamas. Their position refuses to enter with deep feeling into the experience of others for fear of losing ourselves in it. But it is that question of empathy that I want to take with us to the foot of the cross today. Today we remember the most agonizing part of the Christian story. Jesus' trial, his betrayal, his trial, his beating, his crucifixion at the hands of the Roman state, the temple authorities, and a frenzied crowd. His death on the cross represents the worst human impulses towards violence and vengeance. But from Jesus' perspective, it represents so much more. His death on the cross was the ultimate act of empathy. Did he not say while hanging there, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do"? Even at the last, he was able and willing, knew he had to enter into the experience of even those who persecuted him, knowing that only through empathy with them, with his attackers, with his accusers, could there be any hope of their salvation. And that was what he came to do, to reconcile all people to God, to bring them into the embrace of God's boundless and ever-giving love. We hear from our Hebrews reading that we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weakness, but we have one who in every respect has been tested as we are, yet without sin. Jesus was sent by God to enter into the fullness of our human experience, the brokenness of it, the violence of it, the sorrow of it, the pain of it. He did not become like one of us, but standing at a safe distance. He became one of us, a human being walking this earth. He wept over the death of a dear friend. He was betrayed by someone he trusted. He questioned his calling. He got angry and frustrated. He was ignored and derided. His whole life and ministry was marked by his capacity for empathy. He ate with sinners and tax collectors. He touched and healed lepers. He advocated for a woman facing stoning. He acknowledged the difficulties of discipleship and identified strongly with the poor, the hungry, the downtrodden. And in the end, as we all do, he faced the inevitability of death. On the cross, he enters fully into the agony of human existence. He bears upon him the weight of the sins of the world, the totality of its suffering, the pain of people in our own hometowns, in our own slice of the United States and of the world. He bears with him the pain of folks in Gaza fleeing from the destruction of the Al-Ali hospital. He bears with them the pain of folks fleeing their homes in Ukraine. He bears with him the sorrow and agony of all of us. He carries it all with him to his death, so he might bring it into the loving embrace of God. He entered into our suffering. He empathized with us so that in him we might be drawn into deeper relationship with the boundlessness of God's love. How much empathy do we owe to people thousands of miles away? If Jesus' death on the cross teaches us anything, the answer is a whole lot. A core part of our discipleship is our ability to join with others in their suffering, to let ourselves feel it and be moved by it, so that we might see how Jesus' offering of himself on the cross joins them there in that pain, how Jesus' offering on the cross draws them into the love of God. Our empathy and capacity to show God's love is one of the clearest signs of God's grace at work in the world. In a letter to the Episcopal Church following the attack on the Al-Ali hospital, Presiding Bishop Sean Rowe asked members of our church to do three things: to pray for the staff and patients of the Al-Ali hospital, to give generously to the Good Friday offering, more on that in a minute, and to advocate for a just and sustained peace in the Holy Land, to write to our congresspeople and senators, to stand up for and advocate for the peace that the world so desperately needs. At its core, Bishop Rowe's words are a call to empathy, an empathy abundant in feeling, and an empathy that transforms into action. Tonight's plate offering will go entirely to the Good Friday offering. The Good Friday offering was started in 1922 as a way for Episcopal churches across the United States to support the ministries of our sister churches in the Middle East, especially those in the Holy Land. Much of this year's offering will go towards the rebuilding of the Al-Ali hospital, towards the resumption of its services, its vital, life-giving services to the people of Gaza City. And so if you're interested in giving, if you're interested in letting your empathy transform into action in this small way, you can place cash or check to St. George's with Good Friday offering in the memo line, or donate online. The link to donate is in e-news. And now, as we are about to pray for the entirety of the world, and to kneel or stand or approach the foot of the cross, I invite us all to reflect on the empathy that Christ showed us, that Christ shows us, all the ways that Christ enters into our suffering and our hardship, our pain and our joy, our laughter and our misery, our uncertainty and our doubts, our pains and our losses. And so that through his empathy, through his willingness to enter into our own experiences, we may enter into the experiences of others, reaching out to them, not with judgment or condemnation, but in the ever-abiding, boundless love of a God who loved us so much that he offered himself even unto death on the cross.